And to start us off in a good way, of course, it's important to acknowledge our traditional lands. So at Royal Roads University, I'm on campus right now, and we acknowledge that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Lekwungen peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. And it is with gratitude that we live, learn, and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, staff, and faculty come together. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here today with us. And of course, the reason you are here, hopefully, is to learn about our Mahil program, so the MA in Higher Education, Administration, and Leadership here. I'm joined by some fabulous people today. We have our panelists, and we have Dr. Robin Mueller, who's a professor and the program head for Mahil, and the school director as well. It's always a delight when I can co-host with Robin. And we also have our alumni, Patrick Carr, Mikki Koehler, and Lisa Vogt. And myself, I'm Ariana Kinjerski. I'm an education specialist here at Royal Roads, and I'm joined by some more colleagues, Karen and Lisa from Enrollment Services. So thank you to everybody for being here for the session today. And our agenda here, folks, I'll give us a brief overview of the Royal Roads University experience as we get started here. Of course, we will hear from our alumni, the most exciting part. I'll take us through some how to apply, and then any questions throughout, if you want to pose them in the chat, feel free to do so as we go along. We can get to them at the end as well. Now, you may be asking to yourself, why would I consider Royal Roads University? What makes Royal Roads different from all of the other universities that are out there? We like to think we have a few special details, but I'll get to those in just a second. First, I will give you some alumni survey results that we conducted. I believe this was last year, alumni surveyed by Royal Roads University. 93% of our alumni say that Royal Roads has positively influenced their personal and professional lives. 92% of alumni say they felt supported by staff and faculty. 90% say that we provided them with the tools and knowledge required for a leadership role in the workplace. And then 89% say that Royal Roads provided them with the tools and knowledge needed to be innovative in the workplace. So I would say those are some pretty good numbers. As an alumni myself at Royal Roads, I also tend to agree with those statements. And a little bit about our space here. So you may have seen some of these photos, especially the top left, that is Hatley Castle. If this looks familiar to you, you are not alone. This is a famous movie set, so it's been in movies like X-Men and Deadpool throughout the years, many, many more movies, and they continue on. So very cool that we have that on campus. To the right of that, we also have our Japanese gardens. At Royal Roads, we have lots of gardens and beautiful green space, beautiful trails here. So if you get the chance to come to campus, very much worth checking out some of those spaces. You'll see to the bottom left, we also have our Esquimalt Lagoon. That's a migratory bird sanctuary that we have on campus as well. So one of my favorite spaces personally, hang out by the water and really take in the fresh air. It's beautiful. And we also have our homage to online learning in the bottom right corner. We've been doing online learning at Royal Roads for well over 25 years now, long before it was popular. And that's something we're very, very proud of, our online and blended learning styles. So that's something that we focus on here as well. And we are also certified as an Ashoka U Changemaker campus, one of few in the world. So a Royal Roads Changemaker education is an innovative approach to education, and that prepares students as they address world problems, encourage others, and act for the good of all. So pretty cool stuff. And at this point, folks, I will pass it off to my wonderful co-host, Dr. Robin Mueller, and will take us through some of our wonderful alumni stories.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Ariana, for your introduction. Much appreciated. My name is Robin Mueller. I am the program head for the Master of Arts in Higher Education Administration and Leadership. And I'd just like to acknowledge the land that I'm calling in from today. I do, like Kathy, live on the traditional lands of the Nanaimo First Nations in the city of Nanaimo, British Columbia. I work at Royal Roads University in Victoria, British Columbia, but right now I am in the city of Airdrie, Alberta, which is on Treaty 7 territory. It's the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and Stoney Nakoda, in addition to the Métis Nation of Alberta. And it's a place where the Bow River meets the Elbow River and has been traditionally referred to as Mokinsisis. I just want to acknowledge as well that I have been doing a lot of work to learn about how I am situated in a colonial project that has caused systemic harm to Indigenous peoples in Canada, and would like to state my commitment to stopping the perpetration of that harm and to do everything that I can to forefront Indigenous people and voices in both my personal and professional practices. So with that said, I welcome you to this webinar. Let's see if we can get to the next slide. Okay, now for the best part. I would like to introduce you to our panelists, and I'm actually going to turn things over to them to introduce themselves individually. So Patrick, if I could ask you to share an introduction, please.
Hi, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Patrick Carr. I'm joining you today from Thunder Bay, which is located on the traditional lands of the Fort William First Nation, which is signatory to the Robertson Superior Treaty of 1850. I'm currently the manager of international recruitment at Confederation College, and I graduated from the Mahil program 2 years ago. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Mikki, could I ask you to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Mikki Koehler. I'm located in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm a recent graduate of the Mahil program, which is having my convocation but 2 weeks ago. But I finished my program in June. I'm currently working at the University of Alberta, but I also have years of experience at NAIT, which is the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, also here in Edmonton. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Mikki. And last but not least, Lisa, could we have you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Lisa Vogt, a classmate of Mikki. So yes, we just convocated about 2 weeks ago. It was very exciting. I am an instructor in the Civil Engineering Technology Department at Red River College Polytechnic in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is on the lands of the Anishinaabe, Anenewak, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Dene, and the national homeland of the Métis people. So happy to be with you all here today.
Thank you all for those introductions. I do have some structured questions for us to work through today and for you to respond to as alumni of the program. And we'll start with this. I'll give you each a chance to respond. So it's actually 2 questions, but well, I'll pretend that it's one. Which aspects of the Mahil program were most impactful or transformational for you? And what was your most important learning from the Mahil program? So I will start with Lisa this time.
You surprised me. I thought I was last on the list. Okay. There are so many things when I thought about this in advance of really, what I would say. But I think being part of a team of learners was really important. It's why I chose this program as opposed to some of the other options out there. Wanted to be part of a team and move through the work together. So I think that had a huge impact on me. At the time we did have a residency on campus. And so visiting Royal Roads and just having that really dedicated learning time was very impactful. It was a big job to transition from sort of regular human to a master's student. And I think the support of the cohort that we were working with, the instructors, and I do have to say that visit to campus was really impactful for me. And there are so many things I learned from this program. One thing I will highlight is that I did really want to know more about literature and research as I was starting to dabble in that some more, but it had been over 20 years since I had been in my undergrad. So I wanted some more teeth. I wanted a bit more foundation to be working from. And that was a really important piece of learning I took from Mahil. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Mikki, could I ask you to respond?
Yes, you may ask that of me, Robin. I have, a lot of similar sentiments to Lisa in the fact that we're not just saying this. There are so many parts of the program that were transformational for me, and I'm really just not paid to say that. It's truly the experience that I had. However, if I had to pinpoint something, I would just say how applicable the program is to the work that we do. Having a master's is great if for career progression and things like that. But this program is so grounded in our work, and there's so many opportunities for you to tailor your paper or tailor your project to suit something that you can actually apply to your current work environment. Or that's how it was when I was in the program. And that was evolutionary for me. As opposed to some of my other classmates who were maybe sitting in the position, work position that was their end goal, or they've kind of reached that pivotal point of their career, and they were able to tailor, you know, their assignments and things to suit the work they were currently doing. My situation was different. I'm early in my career, and so I used the opportunity to tailor my projects towards work that I knew I wanted to get into in my future. And so it gave me space to do that research, to learn more about it, to get familiar with best practices. And I feel like I was able to gain years of experience through these projects so that I could find opportunities, demonstrate my learning, and seek opportunities in my current career earlier than you know, if I had taken this program later, or if I had just you know, been in the industry for so long. So that for me has proven to be the most transformational, was how grounded it was able to be in my work and the work that I know I'll do as a higher education professional. So that's mine.
Thanks, Mikki. And Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with lots of what Mikki and Lisa said, and I like Mikki, I'm sort of early mid-career, I'd like to think myself. And when I graduated from the program, I was still working sort of those entry-level positions at my institution, and the program really prepared me to take the next step in my career. And I used a lot of what I learned to get my current position with Confederation College. I think what was really impactful for me was the connections I made. I made a lot of really great connections. I started the program at the tail end of the pandemic, if we can remember back to those times. And so my residency was virtual. And even despite that, I made great connections with everyone in my program. There are people I stay in touch with still to this day, and a great community of professionals who also really value the same things I value in higher education. One thing I really gained from the program is sort of the focus on leadership, and how, you know, the reflection on my own leadership style and how to grow as a leader, and how to really work with people from all different types of backgrounds, which I think was really beneficial. And I became a much more proficient researcher, being able to conduct research to support maybe the hunches or my gut feelings. Now I can take a much more evidence-based approach, which I think has served me well, sort of leading change within my institution.
Thank you, Patrick. This is a question that I didn't pose as part of this presentation, but I'm just curious, how did you decide to apply to Royal Roads and then enroll in the program?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was at a point in my career where I was looking for to do something to build my skills, to give me tools to get to the next level. And I'm situated here in Thunder Bay, and so there were no programs locally that sort of fit my needs. And when I started looking at online education opportunities, I came across the Royal Roads program, and I actually talked to some alumni that I know who took the program and spoke really, really highly of it. And that's sort of how I got here, is sort of the legacy of the program and all the professionals who spoke highly of it.
I have to say, you are all our awesome. Thanks. Lisa, anything to add to that?
Well, I guess from my perspective, I didn't know anyone who had taken this program, but I did know people who had been to other master's programs at Royal Roads. So I was familiar with the university from that way. So I put it on my list and I did my reading and research. And I would say the clarity of the website was a huge feature for me. Trying to figure out, what the courses you would take or what the costs might be. was very difficult at other universities. So this presented very clearly. I could read all of the courses. Every single course sounded fascinating to me, just like Mikki and Patrick were saying, like it's so applicable to the work that we do. I wanted to take every course. And then the community element. I do know some of my colleagues who have taken other distance programs, and I knew I would be taking a distance program. That you're sort of on your own, and maybe it's continual enrollment, or you're not really working as part of a group. And I knew that the cohort model would be a huge drive for me just to keep going. So that's in the end, it was the only program I applied to, is the one I wanted, and I was happy with the result.
Wonderful. Thank you. Just to say, what the Royal Roads University operates in alignment with a specific model that we have built called the Learning, Teaching, and Research model, that really emphasizes applied scholarship in a way that's pretty unique to our institution. And I can hear that reflected in all of your answers, how important that applied scholarship is to being able to take what you learn in your classes and apply it directly to the work that you're doing day to day. Okay, I'll move to the next slide here. Okay, so our second set of questions. How has completing the Michiel program influenced your career in higher education? And how did Michiel better equip you to flourish in your higher education career? I will start with Patrick this time.
Yeah, I mean, completing the program, I directly attribute completing the program to getting into a managerial role that I'm in now. Completion of the program helped me talk about my experiences better, but also talk about leadership philosophy and evidence-based practice in a way that I think resonates in today's higher education environment. And the tools that I gained, I sort of already spoke to it, but the research skills that I gained serve me well every day. I also think an underrated part for me upon reflection was the amount of writing I did throughout the program really elevated me as a communicator in terms of written communication. And that really has served me well in terms of my day-to-day activities now in recruitment.
Isn't that funny? Because students often despair about the amount of writing that's involved at the beginning of the program.
Yeah,
and
I was probably one of them, Robin. The amount of writing we had to do and reflection, but it definitely prepared me well to communicate concisely and effectively, but also persuasively.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Patrick. Lisa.
Well, I'm so thrilled to be joining this group because I think maybe some of my motivations were slightly different. I think the word leadership I was uncertain about that word in the program. So I described to you sort of how I did some of my research and looked at the courses, but I wasn't sure if it was a leadership program per se I was after. I have done some leadership roles. I may again in the future, but it's not my top priority right now. And so that, I was like, oh, well, everyone is going to maybe be like super, I don't know, straight to the top, right to the dean's office for president level stuff here. I was intimidated by that, absolutely. But the program really solidified for me that leadership is a skill that we all participate in. It's not a role, it's not a job, it's not a title. And so when I saw the course material, I saw what the courses we'd be taking, and I knew that's exactly what I wanted to study. It allowed me to gain more confidence in other elements of leadership that are sort of beyond, like I said, formal titles. And interestingly enough, my institution went through a restructure right when I entered the program that created more leadership positions. And it was this perfect storm that I should now, jump into a leadership role. And I know the program would have served me well. But I personally did not choose that path. I got asked to take on some other projects. I was asked to edit a book by one of the leading researchers in academic integrity in Canada. So I managed that project. That was a 2-year project. I was asked to lead the development of a new program for in the Civil Engineering Technology Department, which is how I ended up there. And I'm not a civil engineer, but I ended up there leading that new project that we're working towards releasing next year. And then I got to teach. I'm teaching leadership and organizational behavior and ethics now, all the things that we learned in the course. So I think the program influenced my career in a different way than maybe I took on a new leadership role because that's what I chose. And I'm really happy I did it. It works really well for me at this point in my career and what I want to achieve. And all the subject matter and like you said, the tasks we were asked to do, I was able to direct, everything was directed to the work I was doing in my day job. So it had a huge impact, and I know it will continue to as I think about whatever I decide to do next. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. And Lisa makes a really excellent point there about the concept of leadership. I think in the Michiel program, we really focus on leadership as a process or a practice rather than a specific role type. So this is meant to be a developmental skill that is built and enhanced throughout participation in the program. Mikki.
I'm going to jump on two things just to piggyback off what Robin said. Lisa and my class was filled with a very eclectic group of professionals. Some folks were in those very classic leadership roles. We had a VP, we had a few registrars, we had a few directors. And then there were other folks in our program, and we also had leadership or administrative, roles, but we could all, again, going back to how tailorable this program is, you're so able to take this information and apply it in such meaningful ways, regardless of where you're at in your career or what direction, to Lisa's point, you're deciding to take your career path. And then that would also be kind of what I have taken as to be the most influential part of this program for my career. I want to be someone who maybe seeks the top of the top. I have some goals that I'd like. And it involves being holistic in nature, having good sight lines on a variety of different areas of post-secondary. So it allowed me to do that. Each course I could, choose a different element that I was interested in and really dive deep in that. And I was able to spread my knowledge across a variety of different sectors of post-secondary, which I was really grateful for. And I know there were teammates of mine who stuck to their topic because that's the profession and that's the career they wanted to stick with. So they were able to tailor their education to really dive deep into maybe one bucket. But what's influenced my career the most is the ability to spread my knowledge and my learning out to support where I'd like to see my influence and my leadership go within post-secondary.
Thank you, Mikki. One thing too that everyone has alluded to here that I think is worthwhile making explicit is that many students find that a significant benefit of the program is the network of professionals that they are able to develop over the time they spend completing their degree. So you wind up in a circumstance where you're able to connect in really deep and meaningful ways with professionals working in the higher education sector from across the country. This tends to not only become an information sharing network, but also opens up lots of opportunities for people in terms of their moving ahead in their professional practice. So I don't know if the three of you have anything to add to that, but I know that students often mention the impact that network has on their career. Yeah, Lisa.
I would just agree, and when Mikki was sharing here now about her goals, like it made me so excited, right? And we were not, this program is not a competitive program where we're racing against each other to achieve something that only one person can have. We are there supporting one another. And you're absolutely right, that network of people from across Canada, we talk about, oh, are you going to this conference or that conference? The higher education landscape in Canada isn't that big, right? And so we get to collaborate and we get to ask questions of each other. How are you handling this issue or that issue? And learn from each other. At work, topics come up, like let's say, changes to international education are really big right now. And I say, you know what, I have this person or that person I can ask at this institution. Let me get back to you. And the leaders at my institution are really impressed, that I have these connections and we can have these sort of quick conversations. So I would not downplay that by any means. It's a significant piece of this program.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, I'll add
Mikki.
just one more thing, just because Lisa and I are here in the room, but it was only a few months ago that there were some topics coming up at my old institution and opportunities, and Lisa happened to be kind of a subject matter expert in those. And so I reached out and I said, hey, this is coming up. Anything that you can, share. And well, Lisa is Lisa. And so we were able to share a lot of great information, and she was able to share, resources that she had found in her research and other helpful things. And I was able to equip myself really well to enter in some of these opportunities that came up at my old institution. So since we're both in the room, that's just sort of a unique part of it. But yeah, I would just mirror everything. That community is just everything.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mikki.
Yeah, and if I could add, Robin, I'm a little bit further removed from the program now, but I still am in touch with a lot of the people I went through the program with, my entire cohort. And so it's not just a community while you're in the program, but that it's a network that sort of lasts throughout the rest of your career. And I think that's a really big benefit of the cohort model.
Agreed. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, let's move to our final set of questions for our conversation today. Whoops, sorry, jumped the gun there. Question 3, what was challenging about completing the Mahil program? And what are your biggest pieces of advice for someone who is starting or even applying for the Mahil program? I will start. Who am I going to start with now? Mikki? Sure.
Yeah, I was ready for it.
Okay.
So I'll share my experience. So challenging, I'm a young mom. When I started this program, my kids were 6 and 3, and I had a lot of trepidation and guilt around even applying and taking on something when, in these really formidable years for my kids. But when I decided to do it, it was really about demonstrating that mom can take something on, that mom is going to work hard, mom is going to provide space in order to do her best work, and then mom will finish the program. And they watched me walk across the stage 2 weeks ago at Convocation. And that whole journey was extremely difficult, but extremely rewarding. So challenging in the way of, there were some summer days that I would hear them having a water fight outside with my husband, and I was inside researching, and, these other moments that I felt I was sort of missing out on. But if I take a holistic and systems thinking view on life, I have to zoom out a little bit and just think, like, long term, this is so good for me. It's so good for my kids to watch me do this. And it just, I know these are short-term pains for these long-term gains. And I'll just piggyback into my biggest piece of advice for anybody who has kids or other things that you're, nervous about juggling. I just stay very scheduled. And I just carved out evenings. So for example, let's say our touch points weekly with the course was Tuesdays. So even when I didn't have a course or when it was time to do the research and things like that, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for example, were just school nights, and I'd put it on my family calendar and say like mom at school, and I would close my door, and my family treated it as like, this is mommy going to school. And that's when I would do my research and do my writing and things like that. And then you flex what those days are based on your schedule, etc. But that keeping that kind of predictable and understandable schedule for my family was a really good way for me to stay on track and overcome some of those obstacles.
Thank you, Mikki. I remember when I started my PhD program, my kids were 3 and 5 at the time. And when they would sit down for Friday movie night, I would crack my books and my highlighter and get started with my coursework. So it does require a little bit of sacrifice of those fun things every now and then. But like you've said, that kind of structure can really help moving forward and to get things done. Lisa.
I agree so much. I also have significant family responsibilities that were, a challenge. So that is the challenge. Mikki's got some really good tips for being organized and talking about it in advance. I think I should have probably talked about it a little more than I did. It's just like, oh, okay, we're just gonna give it a whirl, see what happens. But I did read, there's a blog Royal Roads put out from another a gentleman, I think, who also had a family. And the blog talked about having this sit down conversation with your family in advance. So that's one piece of advice I would give if you do have other family responsibilities. I would have that conversation before the program begins and sit down and really talk about what's it going to take, what is the amount of time, the days or whatever, and how will that flex, would be really good. I think everybody in our cohort felt that challenge. Like I said, the transition to like I was a parent, I was a worker, and now I'm a student, right? And especially those of us who work in higher ed, we work with students and we tell students you can do this and do all the rah encouraging, but we are not there as students ourselves. And so making that little flip, like, oh yes, this is why students struggle so hard, because it's a lot to juggle. It took time, and again, just having the cohort was a huge part of it. I would of succeeding. And also the asynchronous delivery method. There was very little that we had to synchronously be together at the same time with. So like Mikki said, maybe there was a touch point on Tuesday with the class. It might be an hour to 2 hours long. It probably wouldn't even be every week. There might be some weeks that there wasn't one. So if you think about, up to 2 hours a week of synchronous time to get a master's degree, I think is quite reasonable. And the rest you can do, at the time of day where you have the space, if you're a night owl or an early riser or whatever it is, carving out that time was huge. So there's some nuggets of advice in there. And I always said, like, you don't get a master's degree for doing nothing. I kept saying to the friends and family around me, like, yes, I would like to go for breakfast with you or to this event with you or whatever it is, but you don't get a master's degree for doing nothing. So we have to say no. And just being firm in that and knowing that it's not forever, even though it feels like at times like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be sitting at this desk forever. You're not. And when you get through, that reward and accomplishment is so big. So I really do encourage anyone who's thinking, how can I do this? There's a good chance that you can, and have faith and believe in yourself that you can do this. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. And Patrick.
Yeah, I echo a lot about what Lisa and Mikki had to say. My situation is a little bit different for a couple of reasons, but firstly, when I was going through the program, I was an international recruitment officer who handled markets in the Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean. And so throughout the program, I was traveling, as is part of my job at the time, which presented a number of unique challenges with time zones and just work-life balance and getting in work well away. But I would just say throughout the entirety of my program, the faculty, everyone was so supportive and accommodating and really helped me achieve the things I achieved, and I really appreciate that. And my cohort, my classmates were also really accommodating at times, knowing that perhaps I couldn't make all of the meetings, but I would do my fair share of work, and then some, to contribute to the group work we had to do. The other thing that sort of happened throughout my program is my wife and I had a child, our first child. He was born in the January of our last semester, so leading into the capstone project. I had an infant at home, and yeah, that presented some unique challenges too with time management and having a baby. And I'm ever thankful for my very supportive partner who helped me get through it all. But again, the faculty at the time were very supportive and accommodating with all of the various needs in my life. And you know, when I talk about advice and the Mahil program, I would say to anyone just starting the program or thinking of starting the program, you couldn't find a better group of people to support you through your master's program. And if that is a goal of yours, you should do it. And you will find the environment super supportive and accommodating to whatever you have going on in life, and then some. So I'm very appreciative of the people I went through the program with, and I will forever be appreciative of how they supported me.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll just build on that a little bit and mention how, as administrators and program staff, it is and instructors in the program, it is not only our jobs, but part of our larger purpose to support the success of students in our programs and to be as flexible as we can in order to do that. So while, like every university, we have our policies and rules about course completion and deadlines and all of those kinds of things, but my mantra has always been everything is flexible. So we can enact that flexibility in more ways than one, acknowledging that life happens, things come up, unexpected things in addition to planned things. And so we really aim to do our very best to support students to not only get through the program, but to get what they need from the program. I think we're at a place now. Where are we? We're at how to apply. Ariana, do we have a bit of time to invite folks to put questions in the chat if they have them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if any of you have questions that you would like to pose to myself or to our panelists, we have a couple of minutes now that we are able to respond to those. So just feel free to enter something into the chat if you have it. In the meantime, as we're waiting, Mikki, Patrick, Lisa, any last words that you'd like to share with this crowd before we finish our session? Yeah, Lisa.
I think this very simple thing cannot be understated. As you finish each course, you are automatically enrolled in the next course, and then you are automatically enrolled in the next course, and so on until you are done. I think that is, I don't know, a significant portion of why I finished the program. There was no sitting and thinking about, registration, logging in, nothing, right? I knew these were the courses I was taking. I wanted to take these courses, and we were automatically progressed through. I think that's huge.
Thank you, Lisa. Patrick, Mikki, anything you want to add? Any last words to this crowd?
Yeah, I'll mention something. This came up in our cohort kind of at the beginning, and then we actually discussed it at convocation. So in the first weeks or so of the program, there was a lot of talk about imposter syndrome, and there was a large amount of us who felt like we don't even know how we made it into this program, and we're going to be surrounded by folks that are so much more advanced than we are. And then when we all finished it, we all kind of circled back and we're like, this was it was just the best. And we all, regardless of where we were in our careers, beginning and end, we all enriched each other's experience so much. So if you feel like you don't know if you would fit in, or if you don't know if you would be able to keep up, or you know, we all had those same sentiments, and we all realized at the end that this program is exactly for us, and it's exactly for you. So don't get too caught up in that sentiment.
Thank you. Patrick, anything you want to add there? We have some questions here too.
Yeah, can I answer one of the questions? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
sure, please.
So someone asked, is it a good time to pursue a specialized master's given everything that's going on in Canadian higher education? And I would actually say it is an ideal time to pursue a master's, especially a master's in higher education and leadership. A lot of what's talked about through the program is change leadership and how you can be a leader at any level, whether you are in any part of your institution to lead change. And I think now, perhaps maybe more than any time in my career and in recent memory, Canadian post-secondary institution need leaders who you can take evidence-based practice towards leading change, and people who understand change leadership and change management. I think it's, yeah. So to answer that question, I think it's a great time to take a master's program.
Thanks, Patrick. We have an additional, there's the recording will be sent out, correct, Ariana? Yep. That's to answer one question. And then we have, I'm wondering if someone could speak about the faculty and instructors in the program. Would any of you be willing to do that?
It's a little awkward with Robin in the room here, but just kidding. You know what? I will speak. I probably can't speak higher about the instructors that we experienced in our program. I found them not just incredible in their field of instruction, but so warm, accommodating, truly impassioned to support us. And my favorite thing about our instructors is that you feel like you're a colleague. There's this approach of let's all learn. I happen to be the one that is facilitating, but we are all learning. We are all practicing professionals in our field. And there was a lot of that guidance, and that really set the tone. And I think that enriched that community of practice that we have found with our cohort. It's because it's top down. Even Robin, you know, from the beginning, the first time she went in, we were just a bunch of colleagues sitting around talking about what we love, which is higher education. So I would say that they're working professionals. They're super smart and experienced in their subjects, and just set up an amazing kind of culture of learning that I can't speak higher about.
Thanks, Mikki.
Can I add something, Robin?
Yeah, go ahead, please, Patrick.
I would just say also accessible. Throughout the entire program, one of my concerns sort of early on was, oh, it's distance learning. If I have questions, how am I going to connect with the faculty? Every single faculty that taught me was super accessible, was very responsive via email, and very willing to hop on a call, whether it was video or audio, if I needed to run something by them or talk out like a wall I was hitting in whatever project. And I was really impressed throughout with how accessible the faculty were in supporting me.
Thanks, Patrick. Lisa, anything you want to add about the instructors?
I noticed at the end of our round of questions that, oh gosh, we didn't talk about the instructors that much. They were sort of coming up a little bit, but I think that's partly because they made things so comfortable and easy to be able to be successful. Like you said, they were, we could connect with them. They were accessible. They were supportive. They were cheerleaders. And so it was just such a big, important part to allow us to continue to be successful. We would use the Moodle learning management system, which was set up really nice and clearly, set into modules with clear expectations of what we were meant to do. And connecting with different leaders in higher education as between the instructor and student relationship allowed us to see and learn from different people's experience. How are they doing it in that position or at that institution? So I found it very valuable.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay, wow, we have lots of questions now. So there's questions here about deciding between a research paper or a thesis. And I'm just going to press pause on those for now, because for those who enroll in the program, we offer lots of support for you to be able to make those decisions moving forward. So you'll get lots of information right from the very beginning of the program about which pathway you want to engage in. And then a question here, one of my major concerns, I'm keeping an eye on time. How much time do you need, Ariana?
Just a couple minutes, Robin, so feel free to keep going. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
One of my major concerns is about balancing work and the virtual residency. How did you all manage it? Was it sacrificed vacation time, or did you work out a deal with your employer?
I mean, I can answer that since I did a virtual residency. With my employer, we worked out a sort of an agreement that I would take some vacation time and they would accommodate me and let me flex some hours. Given the nature of my job at the time, it was recruitment and it was the tail end of the pandemic, so there was a lot of virtual recruitment happening. So it was easy enough for me to work out. And I know a lot of my classmates, some made deals with their employers and some had to use vacation time. I think it's a really individual thing.
Thanks, Patrick. We also do our best to support learners through that time now too. Mikki, sorry, you have something to add there.
No, I was just going to say about the coursework. I don't feel like working full time got in the way of me being able to finish my projects. I feel like length, spacing, due dates all know that we are working full time, and they're designed to be achievable with the with the expectation that we're likely all working professionals. So I would say if the nervousness is about the day-to-day coursework, I don't want to say ample time, but there was time to achieve that. I never found that to be too much of a burden.
Yeah, I will say that for most of the programs that are offered at Railroads University, we do operate with the assumption that our students are employed full-time. So our programs are designed with that in mind. Originally, our institution catered more to mid-career professionals than early career professionals, but that has shifted quite a bit. So we have, as someone mentioned already, a really wide range of folks who engage in our programming. And we do assume that people work full-time while they are doing their MA studies. So yeah, that's it's kind of a given that we want to build in enough time and space for you to do the work and to feel like you have the capacity to do it in a way that meets your expectations. Okay, I'm going to pass things back over to Ariana at this point to say a few words about how to apply.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Robin, Mikki, Patrick, Lisa. That was really wonderful to hear your firsthand experiences. So big gratitude to you for that. As Robin mentioned, I will take us through really quickly some pieces on how to apply. Of course, as you can imagine, all of this information is available on our website at rollroads.ca. So all of the good details are there. And I know we also have Lisa from Enrollment Services here. So thank you so much for being here, Lisa. Some pieces on how to apply. So at Royal Roads, the first step, online application fee, it is at $136.69. And then we ask for some supporting documents. So things like official transcripts from previous schooling, a detailed resume. So things like work experience, life experience, volunteering, everything. So we could really capture who you are holistically. Personal statement as well. So I always like to describe that as almost like a cover letter if you were applying to a job. So really, what do you want to get out of the program? What do you hope to bring to the program? Things of that nature. Again, more details on the website. 2 letters of reference as well. Those can be either academic in nature or professional from your workplace. And then we do have English language requirements, again listed online. So just a few bits and pieces to keep in mind if you are looking to apply for the upcoming intake. Speaking of which, some key dates to keep in mind if you want to get the program started. The start date is June 9th, 2025, which will be here before we know it, because somehow it's almost December. Don't know how that happened. Application deadline is March 9th, 2025. Again, we'll be here before you know it. So if you are thinking about it, it is a good time, as always, to start gathering those documents and getting things in order. And you can apply anytime on our website. We assess that on a rolling basis as well. So services that are available, of course, going back to school in any capacity, this is a really big commitment. It's a big step. So things like financial aid and award services, there are resources that are available to you. You can check that out. I do love the way that page is laid out. You can explore things like loans, bursaries, scholarships, things like emergency funding. As we were saying, sometimes life happens, right? So things that are available to you. Enrollment services as well, it can be reached at learn.more@royalroads.ca. So for anything like follow-up questions or program options, if you want to connect with students and alumni, all of those fabulous things, they can be reached again at that email. Or if you want to give them a call, there's some phone numbers for local and for toll-free for North America on the screen as well. So you can always engage with them in that way. And at this point, folks, I will say a very big thank you. Thank you so much to everybody who attended live on the line. Of course, we have some folks who will be tuning into the recording in the future. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much. We appreciate you. I see Lisa is putting some helpful links and things in the chat as well. So I'll include those in my follow-up as well. But again, if you have any questions, folks, please do be in touch with us. Learn.more@royalroads.ca. Robin, I just want to pass it off to you for one last time if you have any things to wrap us up here today before we sign off.
I don't have anything specific to wrap us up, but I do want to thank Mikki, Patrick, and Lisa for joining us today. It is delightful, as always, to see you. I look forward to keeping in touch, and thanks for everyone who attended today. Also, please feel free to be in touch with me if you have questions about the academic side of the program. I'm going to plunk my email into the chat here right now, and feel free to reach out to me at any time.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Robin. Again, thank you to our panelists and folks for tuning in. We hope that we will see you in the program and in a webinar next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye.
Bye.